Okay, so back to the point. So, Erin Roth, artistic director of Ensemble Shakespeare Company, is that right?
Yes, Ensemble Shakespeare Company. We are ensembleshakespearecompany.com, Ensemble Shakespeare Co. on Instagram, and same on Facebook. So, yes, I'm trying to get good at doing that up front.
Yeah, getting the trademarks and
Yes,
the
exactly.
collateral up front.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
gotta get
Great.
just because I'm starting to realize how incredibly important it is to just reach people. So it's
Yeah,
whatever way you can. So.
in whatever way you can. Yeah.
And when that interview you were talking about, I realized, oh, I didn't have a couple just quick informational talking points that I wished that I had. So,
Uh-huh.
ensembleshakespearecompany.com, see what's
Okay.
coming up next. We're doing a production of Midsummer that we'll start our previews July 16th. Just a 2-week run, but love to see everybody there.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
yeah.
I would have let you close with that, but anyway, we'll edit that. We'll re-edit that. But that's great. Get the pitch out. Here's what I want to talk about.
Yes.
Um, so this is you recently did works in progress or work in progress?
We're calling it Works in Progress.
Works in progress. Great. Like writer works. Love it.
Like Ryder works. Works in
Yeah.
progress. Oh, stop.
Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, we'll take off camera before I talked about my envy.
Yeah.
So that was this past weekend.
Yes, that
Yeah.
was on Monday, actually. We do them on Monday nights.
You do them on Monday
If
nights.
our company are in shows so that they can, that's their night off.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so tell what is the conceit of the evening?
Okay, so the conceit of the evening is we're inviting the audience into our process. This is basically our version of a staged reading, but we take it as far as we can take it. So sometimes actors have books in hand, sometimes they're fully memorized. It's just about our company members. And again, if they're in a show or something like that, they won't be able to rehearse as much. But if they're not, then we will. So we take a week basically, and we rehearse for as long as we can, and then we get it up in front of an audience, and it's our step towards a full production. So this last one we did half of Julius Caesar, got it up in front of an audience, and we learned so much. One, it's just fun to get it up. We
Yeah.
also have a party afterwards. We have some wine and cheese, and people hang out and talk to us about what they saw. So that's the idea, is that we're just trying to take the stage reading a couple steps further for ourselves.
Okay, so
Yeah.
there's a few things I wish I would have had a notepad I would come back to,
Yeah.
mostly the wine and cheese, but
You
the the
gotta have a party whenever you can,
gotta
right?
have a party, especially when you're doing Shakespeare. So talk to me when you say taking it one step further than a
Yeah.
stage reading,
Well,
how make that
I
distinction for me.
For me, I assume a stage reading is going to be a bunch of actors sitting on stage with music stands and their scripts on the stands, or standing on stage. So that's my preconception about it.
Uh-huh, sure, okay.
But we don't ever do that. We never sit to
Right.
work. We don't do stage readings. I'm sorry, we don't do what's it called? Table reads.
Table reads, right. Okay.
Yeah. So we're always on our feet working, and our actors are quite good at working book in hand,
Right.
with presence and connection. So that's where we start.
Okay, okay. So I wanted to get to that. So you're more about your process, because that's a very interesting idea of not having a table read and always working on your feet. And I remember recently reading a passage in Judy Dench's book,
Ooh.
that where she said nothing drove her more crazy than having to sit around the table. She said for sometimes 3 days, and reading the play rather than getting up on your feet.
We'll
So
never
tell
do
me,
that. We'll never ever do that, Judy.
okay, great. Okay. So why? Why do you approach your work in that way, and what do you believe is revealed either in the story or in the actor's performance by working in that way?
Well, it's about being embodied and being embodied with the language, I think. It's about us just getting on our feet, getting the language in us, and trying something rather than sitting down and talking about it, which I think is really a, something that's both seductive and a bit of a trap with Shakespeare, because
Mhm.
Shakespeare's scary. The language is dense. or it can be scary. The language is dense, so it's really easy to want to sit back and talk about it and dissect it and just go fully left-brained. But if
Mhm.
you get on your feet and you have to just speak the language and experience it, you're going to learn so much more than if you're sitting back halfway doing it.
Mhm.
That makes sense. So when we come
Yeah.
to rehearsal, our actors are already practiced at that because we get together once a month to do that. So when it comes to rehearsal, we're already, I think, a week ahead in a lot of ways. Our rehearsal is so efficient.
Right. So, because you're forming a long-term ensemble that has the same ethos and aesthetic and approach to Shakespeare and approach to ensemble, right?
And we're trying to work with the same actors over time so we can all grow together.
Right. Which is different than when you, as an actor, get booked on a Shakespeare job. You're meeting people that come from all different kinds of disciplines and all different kinds of approaches. That some who like to get up on their feet and
Yeah.
some who like to sit down and beat out the line.
I think that's great work to do. I
Mhm.
think maybe do that on your own before you come to
Yeah.
rehearsal.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Okay.
think for
Yeah.
us, it's like just be ready to be present and ready to get on your feet and work. And it's not that we don't ever stop and talk. We
Right.
absolutely stop and talk. Um, but we try to do it in presence. You know, when we're talking about the circumstances, we try to do it
Yeah.
while looking at the other character in presence,
Yeah.
which gets you into the story much faster. I don't know if I hope that makes
Yeah.
sense.
I think that does. It certainly
Yeah.
makes sense to me. I appreciate the aesthetic. Um, so let me think if I can go back, skipping on the wine and cheese.
It's a really
So
important.
so talk to me. So that I just wanted to go into that, but you already answered that question. So there are moments where you as an actor or me as an actor are in the group with the ensemble, and everyone's on their feet, whether they're in the scene or not, or how does that work?
Oh yeah, if you're basically we just ask people if they're in the room to be present. So not on your
Okay.
phone, not doing something
Yeah.
else. We say to folks if you, mostly people are just called when they're called. So if you're working, you're working. But if say on the last couple days when we just needed all the actors there to work sections,
Mhm.
we just said to the actors, you know, go to the lounge if you're not here, but if you're in the room, we just need you
Okay.
to be present with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's when that's part of your rehearsal process. So
Yes.
the ensemble's already formed, but they're not all, as you're rehearsing, not everybody's necessarily in the room.
Oh, not for
With-
every. Yeah, we
Okay,
talked about that actually, but
okay,
not everybody isn't there all the time.
okay.
Maybe sometime we might rehearse that way, but for
Uh-huh.
this one, we're still rehearsing in a more traditional way where people are called for the scenes that they're in.
Okay, okay, great. Okay,
That's
great.
not just to say that's not something we'd like to experiment with in the future,
Yeah.
because we really understood. I know we're not quite talking specifically about Julius Caesar yet, but we really understood how necessary every person is to hold the story for the ramp up of the story, if that makes sense.
Uh-huh.
As soon as you break the tension, the next person who comes on has to pick it back up and restart the scene when everything really builds. So if people are used to being present, I played Cinna and the Carpenter. So on
Sinner the
purpose,
poet?
what's that?
Sinner
No,
the poet?
not
Sinner
Cinna
the
the poet,
conspirator.
Cinna the
Okay. You
conspirator. We didn't get to that scene, which is one of
got to
the
make that
my favorites.
distinction.
It's such a
Oh,
good.
okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the conspirator, but it's a pretty small part as far as lines go. But it's not a small part at all in terms of being present on stage and aware for long periods of time. And so I got to
Well,
experience how necessary that is. And if one of us is on stage and we go out of presence, then the whole scene loses the tension of the scene of what's going to happen.
sure. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. I totally, yeah. And I'm back to your like, I don't know if you said it, but here just now, but moving it forward, there's nothing more. Well, it's a time suck for sure. I guess you did use the word winding down, a time suck when even when you're switching from I don't know. I was going to say scene to scene, act to act, sometimes beat to beat,
Yeah.
when all of a sudden you're like, it's moving forward, and then the actor just like wah wah wah,
We
or
felt it. We
it.
felt it when we didn't hold our presence as conspirators. Look, for
Mhm.
example, specifically in the scene with Brutus at Brutus's house, when Cassius brings all the conspirators,
Mhm.
we're all in that scene listening. And if we go away, the scene ends.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
so important for us to flex that muscle of being, because it's exhausting, honestly. I was tired.
Oh yeah. Well,
Staying
yeah.
there in presence, listening, like really on edge for what's going to happen because you don't our wonderful director Dylan Deal reminded us that this conspiracy is not a sure thing. I mean, it could fall apart at any second. Any one of
Yep.
us could go tell
Yes.
Caesar at any point. So it's
Yes.
incredibly tense. And if you don't have the awareness and the breath and the presence, you can't create that tension.
Yes. True. Or yeah, or that reality. Who's a I saw something the other day on like Instagram about we actors don't play truth, they play reality or something. I don't
Oh,
know.
I
I
like
don't really
that. We're
understand
creating the reality of the
yeah.
situation, which is
Yeah.
that we are conspiring to kill the most powerful man in Rome.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
any of us could either get too scared to do it, could turn, could at any point. So you think you're sitting there on stage on a small part, but you're actually not in a small part at all.
Right. No, yeah, I agree. I totally agree with that. And if you choose to make a, if if there's a, I don't know, nervous energy running through a conspirator or whatever, and
Mhm.
that brings you into a place like this, versus maybe there's a place where you're like, oh my God, let me think about this. What's going to happen? You're still fully present and
As
engaged. You
long as you're
may
still
not
fully
be,
present.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
It
it's
could
also
be a
you've got
different
Brutus.
shape.
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say, so it could be a different shape or moment that you're consciously playing
Yeah.
in the reality, whatever, but it's not the actor like pulling back
Going,
and like, I don't have any lines right now,
yes,
which is
exactly.
different than being present and maybe creating a shape and going, what the fuck's
Oh,
going
oh my
on?
God. What did Cassius?
Yeah,
Wait, I don't want to kill Mark
yeah,
Antony. You want to kill Mark
yeah.
Antony? Yeah,
That,
you got to go through all of that and
but
how.
the audience can see, right? The audience can see the actor who is present and is going through something in the
Yeah.
moment versus the actor who is, I don't have any lines in this scene.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's hard because
Yeah.
those parts are
Yeah.
hard. I have to say it was good. It was such a good exercise for me as the artistic director because I could, cast myself in whatever, like,
Yeah.
yes, at a certain point.
Right.
Director
Right.
agreed.
Yeah.
Because I'm not directing, we're bringing directors in to work with us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really, really instructive for me to know what we're asking of people and also to know how good of actors we need in these parts that have fewer lines. I don't even
Yeah.
want to call them small anymore. They just have
Yeah.
fewer
Yeah.
lines.
Yeah,
So
yeah, fewer lines,
yeah,
same. Yeah, it is the same energy, and I think as what you said, it probably takes a little more energy
like so much
because
energy, so much focus.
it's so much focus. It's easier to stay present when you're engaged in a conversation. If you're Lady M and Macbeth or whatever, and you're talking about it, than someone who's got nothing to say, right?
Yes,
It's harder to maintain that energy and presence. You really
it
have
is.
to find it from within. Yeah.
You really
So,
do. So it's exciting that all of our training is taking us there. All the things that we've been doing as a company outside of rehearsal. And I want to just keep developing that. But yes,
so
please.
that's yeah. So it's a monthly ensemble meeting where you
Yes.
work on the ensemble and Shakespeare speaking craft as outlined by Patsy Rodenberg, right?
Yeah, and this we have also a workout, a monthly workout that's open to anybody where we can also go deeper into technical
Uh-huh.
things. And our company members are all invited to that as well
Yeah.
if they want to come. But the ensemble sessions are also where we work on a play. So
Yeah.
it's the first step of this process. So already did Julius Caesar in our ensemble sessions for
Uh-huh.
about 3 months. And then the next step of that is a works in progress. And then the
Yeah.
next step will be a full production.
The full production.
So we
And
workshopped it as an ensemble. What's special about the ensemble sessions is nobody's assigned a part. So people can go in for any part they want to go in for. And it helps us just really look at the whole play. And we
mhm.
don't do any cuts. We just look at the entire play as a group. Everything's open to everybody. Yeah.
Okay, I think for our next time we get together, I want to talk about that process. But let me just
Oh,
ask
I
you,
would love that.
if I'm an actor in New York City and I'm interested and I want to attend a workout, tell me what is the progression, if
Mhm.
there is a progression from workout to being considered a member of the ensemble?
It would just mean we ensemble sessions are usually just invited. We're either Dylan and I will invite people or company members will recommend people and will invite
Okay.
them to come. So it's much more for professional actors.
Yeah.
And maybe the workout is for people who also professional actors, but people who are maybe just starting their journey with Shakespeare and
Right.
just want to learn some skills. But the cool thing is those people get in the room with professional actors and work on the things that we're working on as a company.
Okay, as part of the workout. So it
It's,
is conceivable that
yeah,
if I'm a new actor that doesn't know anything about Patsy Rodenberg's work, that if I came to several workouts and began to develop craft, there might be an opportunity for me to get a bigger role at some point in the ensemble.
absolutely. We just
Fantastic.
nothing's guaranteed. They're not
Yeah.
auditions, but of course,
Yeah.
once we know you, we know you.
Great.
So yeah,
Great. Okay.
but definitely, yeah.
So last question, and then
Yeah,
I'll let you pitch your next thing again, just so we
sure.
have it at the end. So what did you find, or what were you told maybe,
Hmm.
that that was most so you call it works in progress. What was most revealing about this work? What did you learn maybe about the play or the process or your company or
Yeah.
production, Monday night that you'll bring forward in the future?
I think I learned that number one, the murder isn't foregone. The conspiracy isn't necessarily going to work because there's so many of these. One of our actors brought up the movie Valkyrie, I think, with Tom Cruise
Yeah,
about a conspiracy that doesn't work,
yeah,
that tried to kill Hitler. So you got to just remember that, and if you can create that tension, it's really exciting for the
yeah,
audience because the whole first half of the play, you're just watching the conspiracy come together and figure out, Brutus figure out if he's going to do it, figure out who's going to be involved. You don't know if it's going to happen. So it's also just never taking anything for granted
mhm.
in these plays, even though we all know how they go.
Right, right. That's the trap. It's like you
That's
know
the
what the ending
trap.
is. You know what's going to happen to Caesar the minute you walk on the
Yeah.
stage for the first moment.
We
So
want our audience to want it.
yeah,
Somebody said to us, I don't want Caesar to die. And that was one of the best
Mhm.
compliments we could have gotten because we made him a really full character.
Yeah,
We really tried to give him his, rather than sort of making him 2D, we tried to give him his full life because Shakespeare does in the play. And that people at that point didn't think it was a foregone conclusion that he was going to die. And we're like, no, don't do it.
yeah.
That was a huge win for us. Huge, huge,
Right.
huge.
And remind me, and I played Caesar, so I should
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Remind me, did Caesar sends Anthony away, right?
No, one of the
No.
conspirators, Trebonius, takes Anthony
Yeah.
away.
Okay. Great. Okay. Yeah. That's
Also an
I.
amazing part with not a lot of lines.
Yeah.
Trebonius is a great part, and our actor playing Trebonius made it
Yeah.
so full and clear. We discovered
Mhm.
this whole thread of the plot because he's a wonderful actor.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so we discovered that. Sorry, what was the other question? There's so many good questions.
Well, yeah. I guess that was it. I was just wondering.
That was a really big one for us. The fact
Yeah.
that we were
Yeah.
present enough,
Yeah.
weren't taking things for granted. And oh, this was the other thing.
Yeah.
We really wanted to make we hoped that our audience would agree with whoever was speaking. We didn't want to give you these sort of 2D good, bad characters. We wanted
Oh,
you to really
no.
understand the arguments that everybody's making and kind of agree with them, or not
Mhm.
agree with them, but really understand
Yeah.
where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And I
Great.
think we accomplished that, which I'm really proud of.
Okay. I could go on forever. We're out of time. Did you film it? Is it available to
No,
watch?
no official filming. It was a showcase, so
Okay.
we couldn't film
Under,
it.
okay.
Yeah.
Under equity codes. Okay,
Under
great.
equity, yeah, you
Okay,
can't.
so what's up next?
So up next is Midsummer. We did already did our works in progress for Midsummer. A lot of those actors are going to be back for a full production. It runs July 16th through July 27th at the Flea Theater downtown, and you can get tickets at ensembleshakespearecompany.com.
Great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Erin Roth. It was a
Thank
pleasure
you
to
so
speak
much
with
for
you.
interviewing me. This was
Absolutely.
great.
Welcome to my 2 cents.
Thank you. I love your 2 cents.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I didn't add too much 2 cents this time.
That was
And it
really nice. Thank you for That's very helpful to go through those questions
stopped recording.
and think